I was just thinking of crazy conspiracies because, well, yeah. I was trying to think what kind of crazy shit would hit the internet if M2 popped up and a bunch of people managed to get photographs of it or
Oh, it would be
video of it
me.
doing stuff.
The first person to come out and talk about it would be the ancient aliens guy, and that would discredit the entire thing.
See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking basically that you've got such a cynical, rightly cynical public that the real thing could show up on their doorstep and they would still think it was some kind of special effect, because the average person, when faced with something like that, I don't think the brain would be too busy going, what the fuck, for you to do anything before you were just eaten. But if you were to take pictures and video of it, nobody would buy it.
Ancient alien theorists say yes.
But just imagine these subreddit groups. Just imagine all the conversations across Signal and all over the place, and suddenly it becomes like this cultish thing. Cthulhu lives among us. All this crazy shit that people would post. Saying this is eyewitness accounts, and then all the memes that would come out of it, and then all the faked stuff that would come out of it, and then just in a matter of days, the kind of crazy that would come out of that. And it really makes you wonder. It's like in the digital age anyway, since photographs are easily detailed and fixed, and video and sound, whatever, where do you base reality on?
It's a good question.
And what is reality anyway?
Is there really anyone outside your head, or is the world truly just a simulation for your own amusement?
Right. And those are all those mental masturbation thought experiments, right? It's just like the ship of Theseus, just a thought experiment of crazy to try and make a point. But it does, when you're starting to think about how machines would think if they thought, which they still don't, not in any way we will recognize. What kinds of things would come out of that? Would anybody believe it? I mean, we kind of talked about this, I think, an episode or two ago, a little bit. We didn't quite touch on all of it. It just makes you wonder what happens when those things cross, when virtual reality becomes as immersive as real reality. And I know there's a shit ton of TV and video and everything else, movies, books about this very subject. But when you start really digging down into it, it goes back to the old Matrix thing. How would you know if you were just living in a sim?
It's true. If the fiction that I've read has run the gamut of the end of civilization because everybody plugged themselves in and no one was still left conscious, and eventually they all died.
Great Futurama episode about love between humans and robots. Absolutely ludicrously great. All right, continue.
To, holodeck type experience where everybody's all happy on their own individual level. But I think that when it gets to the point to where you can plug in and it's indistinguishable from reality, or let's just say you can make a reality that you could not distinguish from something real, because who would want to go to a VR that's just like the world we live in? The answer is no one.
No, there's got to be, there's going to have to be some kind of upsell.
So once you can plug into something that's better than what you have, anybody that can do so will do so, and civilization will find a way to come apart. Maybe you'll have something like what happened in, what's that? What is the Ready Player One, where the real world is so bad and people can log on for periods of time and do things. But if it ever becomes possible for you to put yourself into a suspension chamber and not worry about your body, people will never come out. They will play until they die.
I think you're absolutely right.
And the amount of new people being born will be cratered instantly, which may in the long run be for the benefit of humanity.
Yeah, I think it may just be the benefit of the world. Fuck humanity. The world's like, yeah, we've had enough of your shit. We're going to make you all psychotic. Go on, go forth, take care of business. See, while you're releasing pheromones for your cats, Mother Nature is releasing the psychotic pheromone.
So basically that's butt grease, right?
Butt grease. I don't know how you got butt grease out of that.
I had to think of something gross, you know. If it's going to be the pheromone for psychotic, it's got to be gross. So that's where I went.
Okay. All right, fine. Fine. I think it's also a pheromone from cats. Have you seen them when they lose their minds?
I have
Of
not.
course you have. It's what they do. Just for your amusement, listeners, Terry is trying to coax a cat into his lap.
A cat that they have never seen before.
Oh.
Hello, boy.
Uh-oh.
This is Mr. Pollux.
Hello,
Who
Pollux.
has only just recently discovered laps because he had no idea that they existed. Now he's happy to come up occasionally and get pettings.
Ah.
And he's teaching his brother to like that as well. So he didn't like that. Now he's back down on the floor. But they are becoming a bit more personable now that they don't have to worry about somebody attacking them.
So Terry's finally raising another brood.
Mm-hmm. It's how it works. It's always a slow process of getting everybody to the places they want to be inside the group and reattaining a new form of balance.
Okay, this is going to seem off topic, but not really, or maybe just a convenient topic. Do you handle that kind of shit in your writing since you've got all these people on ships all the time?
Not nearly as much as I maybe should.
Is that also a staple? A little bit of friction constantly among certain crew members or new arrivals that cause friction?
It can be, yeah. But the difference is in fiction, I don't want to smooth it over. I want to enhance it. I want to make it a little worse.
You are god of the cats. You are food guy. You are litter guy. You're also the guy they climb on and abuse. You're a god. So why wouldn't you want to cause friction?
With the cats?
You're the cat. You're the cat king, the god.
Let me.
Why wouldn't you want your subjects, going at it every once in a while for your love?
Let me go ahead and illuminate this for you. When they go nuts, things get knocked over. Cats go screaming down the hallway. There's lots of yowling in the middle of the night, and then I bleed.
Oh.
See that scratch?
I have one cat and I have those.
This sucker was from one of the little kittens that jumped up and grabbed onto my hand with our sharp claws.
Oh, that's all they have is sharp claws. I swear to
Kittens
God, the older
nothing but sharp claws. Jesus Christ!
The older cats teach them how to sharpen their claws. I swear to God, help them sharpen their claws. No, if you want to get under his skin and really fuck with them, this is what you do.
Now you see, if I wanted to go ahead and write something that was in my own bailiwick, I would go ahead and write a science fiction universe where cats are intelligent and they are my entire pounce of cats is the crew of a scout ship. And I could make some chaos take place.
No, you think? Especially when they have to go to the dog star. Sorry.
You're very funny. You make cat crew laugh long time.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. That was really bad. But somebody had to say it. Damn it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for being that guy.
You're very welcome. Well, apart from further cat socialization, how the hell's the writing been?
Good. I got 6,000 words before the show today, so I think I'll count that as a win.
I would.
The novel is over 90,000 words at this point. My moving target of where I think I'm going to end up in this first draft is about 125,000 words. We'll see see how it works out. I was aiming for 120. It looks like I'm going to go a little more than that, just because I'm a wordy bastard and can't shut up.
Oh God, I don't even want to say what I'm about to say.
Now, I did have the last couple of days was a little bit challenging because as a person that writes in a linear fashion from start to finish, when I decide that I need to change something, even if it's a minor thing, it's hard for me to go ahead and write down on a note, do this thing before chapter 23. Change references to make this thing look like it happened all the time anyway. And like, part of me wants to go back and immediately reread the things that I need to do and make them right before I go on. And it took me a day to go, okay, I've got to work past this. I've just got to ignore it and get past it.
Welcome to my life as a suspense plot-driven writer. I hate to say I'm plot-driven. It's really not quite true, but I'm not quite. Fuck it. Can't explain it. Anyway, continue.
That's it. That's what I'm doing writing-wise. So I should have the first draft done before our next show.
Excellent.
Which is good because I need to turn in the book by the middle of next month.
Awesome. Well, I spent most of the week working on a short-term contract because
money.
Yeah, exactly. They needed it done and I needed the money. So I got back to writing last night. I wrote 2,200 words last night, and then this morning before the show, 1,400. And I would have kept going had I not had to take a shower and do the show so I can immediately leave for an Astros game. People are demanding I go out. They bought me a ticket and were like, "Come on, Paul." Okay, fine, I'm coming.
Have fun watching the Lastros.
They're not the Lastros, they're more like the first rows.
Well, maybe that's true now, but I remember when they earned that moniker.
Oh yeah, well look, I'm still getting shit for in Tattoo and in Gare's Inferno, maybe Closet Treats too. How much shit I talked about the Astros because I love it's about how they were sucking so bad. Talk about empty Minute Maid.
Then they got their shit all together and then traded everybody away. They're like sitting back going, "What the fuck was that all about? You got a great team." Poof, they're gone. What the fuck just happened?
They're back now. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm getting pulled out to do social things with some people I haven't seen in a very long time, so it'll be kind of
social cool. Is good. I'm not sure when the last time I actually left my house to do anything other than go have lunch with you was.
Oh, and that doesn't count?
No, it does count. But before that, I can't even remember the last time before that I went. Oh, I don't get out very much.
You don't. I don't either, really. Well, I get out more than you do. That's really not saying much at all. I mean, the dog goes out more than you do.
Yeah, the dog takes shits more than I do, too.
Yes, probably smaller ones too, because she has really, really good food. Really, really good
okay
food.
Then.
Yeah, something I didn't know. The amount they shit depends obviously on how much they process. So, very, very lean, digestible food, small poop.
Alrighty then.
It's like a win-win, or a win-win-win, something like that. So I'm back on the writing course. Do what now?
A win-win-win Winnie the Pooh?
So anyway, I made an admission last night, I think on the Discord, and you gave me shit about it.
I don't remember. What did you say?
Extinction is at 67,000 words, I think, and I'm almost finished with the second movement of the book.
Actually, I didn't mock you at all. I didn't even see that. So it must have been somebody else.
Oh, you said something about never getting to the island.
Well, that wasn't last night. That was a couple of days ago.
That was like for weeks you've been saying that, even after the goddamn book is done.
That is my go-to. It's going to be the next 2 years. That's what I'm saying.
God damn it. Anyway, 67,000 words, and I'm almost done with the middle section of the book. I don't have the end section, or excuse me, the last movement even started yet, and I still haven't written the beginning. But I had a funny thing happen today, Terry.
What's that?
I had one character who's in the know about everything that's going on, explaining to another character who had confronted her, basically saying, until I get the story, I'm not doing shit. What is going on? And so finally, all the secrets are being spilt about what it's been happening. And now I know all those scenes I need to write in the first part of the book.
That's always useful.
Yes. So basically, I realized this was, and I have these moments where I realize that I'm talking to myself.
As you know, Bob.
And that's pretty much what it is. It's more, it's sort of like an info dump for me. I will probably change this dialogue, but I'm letting it go the way it is. I'm still kind of, I'm controlling it, but I'm letting it meander the slightest bit. And it's very fluid, I think. And I think it's going to be one of those moments where, one of the characters just goes, "Oh my God." And hopefully the reader will descend with them. Because while I've hinted about some of this stuff, I haven't put it all together. But that means I now have 10 new ideas for scenes in the first book, or the first part of the book. So I don't know how long the first part of the book is going to be now, and I can't even estimate the third part of the book because now I have all this shit I have to do.
Why do I see algebra on my screen now? And if I know the middle of the book, then the first book is X times Y plus Z, and then the end of the book, oh my God.
Do you ever think that there's somebody who's gonna, or if somebody took the time, that they would be able to find out what our formulae are, even if we don't know what they are?
I was going to say, more power to them, since I couldn't help them in the slightest.
Well, I mean, it's funny to think about, because it's like if somebody broke down your books, right? I know I'm pretty predictable for the most part about it takes this part, 20 to 30,000 words before I start dropping hammers on everybody. So I have to make it interesting before that. So I think the Fiendlings know, okay, Paul's setting all this up. We're getting like the characters. All right, well, something happened and then boom, it happens and we're off. You don't write like that. But
No.
I do wonder if you have the same sort of setup. Yours is just much quicker before you start throwing hammers at people.
The first part of my book is wrapping up the mess that I left at the end of the last book.
I'm talking about, say it's a first book. First book in the series.
I introduce the setting by introducing the characters doing things in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I develop some of the conflict that's going to take place in that novel early on, and just make it get more complicated until things come to a head pretty much in the middle as they get into trouble. And then they try to deal with it, get to the end, and things really blow up. And they have to deal with most of whatever problems I've dealt with them.
Most of whatever problems you've dealt with. Most.
The stuff that I introduce in the second half of the book is oftentimes not truly related to what was in the first part, because the first part will lead them to where they run into problems and they find a new enemy, a new problem,
Things
a new
branch.
big thing.
Things branch.
And the dealing with that is what leaves the complications that they are wrapping up in the next book in the beginning.
Right. So you're always leaving something dangling at the end of a book.
My participles, they're always dangling.
Oh, yes, they are. I've been meaning to speak about it. Me and Grammarly have been talking about this. And,
have you noticed that your inflected particle dangles a little bit lower than your other particles?
All right, I'm going to talk to the physicists about this inflected particle. All right, we're going to see what this fucking thing does. By the way, strange aside, did you see the article about the lasers?
Give me a little bit more information.
The fact that you provide me no context on a regular basis, and then you're always screaming.
I read lots of things about lasers. I don't know which laser story we are potentially talking about. Are we talking about the one that achieved nuclear fusion?
No. God damn it, I can't find the article. I should have brought it. Damn it. Okay, so what they did was they fired these microbursts of laser at something like a a quarter of a quintillionth of a second.
Mm-hmm.
And they noticed something. It was slow enough where they could see what was happening, since they captured it in these microbursts. And apparently the photons came out, or the plasma, whatever you want to call it, came out in pairs before they fused and came one thing and flew out.
No, I hadn't read that one.
Yeah, so it's really, I was just looking at them going, what the fuck? They're like, yes, this kind of, yeah, this is something we hadn't predicted. It's like, what? And there's also some new material that somebody's playing with. I got to find that article too. I really should be leaving notes to these damn articles or come prepared with them. I just keep thinking off the top of my head. There's weird shit I've read this week where if they provide or apply electric current to it, it remembers its shape over time. And then once it remembers its shape, if you take away the electric current, it goes back to its original state. So they were talking about the fact that they could basically mold it and flex it by training it. And then after that, all they have to do to make it do something or provide a circuit or a power system or whatever would be to give it one little bit of electricity. It would automatically snap on and stay in that position, whatever that position was.
Snap on, snap off.
I'm not even going to say where my mind went with that. Anyway,
it's actually clap on, but the snap on tools is where my brain went with that.
Yeah, mine went someplace much scarier. Anyway, God, my imagination just needs to stop. Those are two interesting things I found out this week. The second one about the material, because I brought up all sorts of interesting ideas for circuitry or how ships function. For instance, if you could change the shape of the ship by flipping a switch and somehow having the hull respond by the lattices that make up the steel or whatever substance you're using, change it to a different configuration.
I've read some science fiction that did exactly that.
So basically it's shape shifting. So that's a cool idea. I like that. It would have sounded science fiction like 50s.
It's still science fiction.
It would sound like 50s style science fiction if not for the fact that these little niceties come along where you discover that the scientists have figured out some new breakthrough or some new strange thing of particle physics. You sit there and go, well, maybe these ideas that we have aren't so weird after all. Maybe some of them, well, we know some of them will actually be right, which is terrifying in and of itself. Rogers Rangers. Is that a buck?
It is. It's one of the sequels that I had no idea existed, but you can just look at that cover and go, yeah, I can imagine when that might have been written.
Oh, yeah. Well, didn't he get busy with Amidala? Did he get busy with Amidala in the books, or was she even a thing in the books?
She was not a thing in the books, although there was a princess involved. I don't remember. Maybe her name was Amidala. Maybe it was not.
Isn't that the name, Amidala?
It was Ardala.
Ardala. God, how did I get that close? Ardala. Okay.
Pretty close,
Oh, I know what it was. I put together Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers at the same point. Because it's a Dama, and I fused the two. Okay.
Everybody's always talking about Wilma Deering, and I'm like, yeah, when I watched the movie, Wilma was not catching my eye the way Ardala was. That's just not how it worked. Did you know that's the only thing she ever acted in?
Which one?
The woman that played Ardala.
No.
That was it. She was in that movie. Nothing else. Nothing before.
Series.
Nothing before. Nothing. And nothing since. Only that one Buck Rogers movie.
Series.
She was not in the series. She was in the movie.
What movie?
You have never seen the movie.
Evidently not.
Well, maybe I'm mischaracterizing it, but I believe that Gil Gerard. Yes, but it started with a movie. Maybe it was only
the first one. Yeah, she was because they captured him.
Yeah. But I don't think she was in the series. She didn't follow it up.
Yes, she was.
I think that was a different actress playing a different role.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about the character.
I think it was playing a different role. I think it was playing one of her sisters.
All right, I'm going to look this shit up on Wikipedia. You were older than I am, so I probably remember it wrong or wasn't paying those details. Attention to those details. Paying those details. Man, did I have a stroke last week? The fuck?
I don't know. Let's look at it here.
Armadillo. Where the hell did I come? That sounds too close to armadillo. Can you imagine just,
She was actually in something else. So she was not only in that. According to her noting here, she was in the series Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, but I think she only played that role. Maybe it wasn't a movie. She was in that, and she played in the television series Matt Houston, and also had an appearance in Rollerball and Doc Savage and Double Exposure, but wasn't playing a major role in those.
Interesting.
So she didn't do very much that I was able to see.
I liked the character.
Looking at her acting, that's total bullshit. I'm looking at her acting roles, and there's a whole pile there.
All right. So you've debunked yourself.
I've debunked myself. It happens.
You're right, though.
Wait a minute. If this is the internet, this is the part where I say that's all bullshit, and I don't care what Terry says.
So now we're back here at the beginning of when I started this show. Yeah, she always caught my eye. I don't know. Aaron just never did it for me either. I don't know why. I don't know if that's because she was God, this sounds so wrong, but because she was supposed to be the eye candy sidekick?
I'm not sure that she was supposed to be the eye candy sidekick.
Dude, she's the Bond girl, but a more consistent Bond girl.
She was somebody that had skills and ability.
And always got saved. Always got saved.
I think she did a fair amount of saving.
I'm not saying she didn't have skills. I'm not saying she did anything, but she was still second fiddle.
When I was reading, I don't know if you saw this in the commentary I was putting in Discord, but in the Martin Kitten rewrite of Buck Rogers, he did a series. He did a book in the 90s, mid 95, where he basically reimagined it. Buck Rogers was critically injured and crashed his Fokker aircraft. So a World War I aircraft.
Oh, dear God.
I'm not sure if that was, time-wise it happened in World War I, or if it was like flying it in an air show later. I have no idea how that was. But he was put into suspended animation by Cyberdyne Systems.
Oh, fuck.
And I read that in the Wikipedia thing. I said, really? Well, that's a really darker future there. And then my mind went to the future and I said, oh my God, Tweaky is a Terminator.
Oh, that's right. I did see that. I was like, I didn't read the whole thread. I was multitasking on code, and I was like, okay, so Tweaky's the Terminator. What is it? Terry's smoking. I didn't see the context of it.
Yeah, after reading Cyberdyne Systems was involved, I was like, there's got to be a Terminator, and the only one I can lay hands on is Tweaky. Oh, yeah, well, he's a really bad Terminator, but here you are.
Doesn't that mean his boss, Dr. Whatever he was, he's also a Terminator, even though he has no body?
Dr. Theopolis was his
Theopolis. Name. The big fucking clock that hung on every... I mean, where do you think Flava Flav got the idea?
I'm pretty sure Flava Flav never had an idea.
Oh, God. There's a whole discography that would disagree with you on that one.
Undoubtedly true. He is obviously a genius at what he does. So my talking smack means zero to him.
Zero. Yeah, he should be really offended what you think of him.
Exactly so.
No, but I always thought that when the first time I saw that guy wearing the huge clock on MTV or whatever, I was like, the fuck? Did he just watch Buck Rogers way too many times? He just really just want to be Tweaky? What's going on here? I never understood it. I'm sure there's like something behind all that, but I am unaware of the narrative or the lore behind why people do what they do. But yeah, Dr. Theopolis. That was such a weird setup, though. If y'all haven't seen this, listeners, you should really go check. I'm sure the Wikipedia article or somebody's article, IMDb maybe, has got a lot of crazy shit in it about this. But the humans worked with AIs basically, who were trapped in these watch-looking things that were really huge. Looked like clocks from the 70s, actually. Imagine that.
This was done in the 80s, so
yeah.
it wasn't that much of a stretch, right?
No, it wasn't. Early 80s too. So anyway, they had these scenes of these things in government.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't seem like they were advising. They were like equal members of the government.
I'm not sure that that's the case. I believe they were actually running things, whereas the humans were not.
Yeah, exactly. Because they asked him what the weather forecast was, and Theopolis it's like, well, we've planned such and such with rain and this and such. I'm like, oh shit. When you're asking the AIs, what weather do you got planned for us today? I think the world might be in a little trouble.
Humanity was about extinguished because of something, and the AIs and the computers are what helped them recover and regain themselves.
Okay, so who was fighting Cyberdyne Systems to save the humans?
I'm not sure, other than Martin Caden's book, that Cyberdyne Systems was involved.
I'm just saying, okay, if we take this and we push forward, okay, if we push forward, say that Cyberdyne Systems existed, they froze his ass, everything else, he wakes up, and that part is over. That part of human history is gone. The whole he survived the ditch or whatever you want to call it, where humanity fell off a cliff, almost went extinct, and has come back up, and is still coming back up, or they're finding their next era, right? The old era is over, and now we're moving on to a new era of human, whatever you want to call it, human progress, whatever. Who would have helped to save the humans? I doubt the humans would have saved themselves if they were that dependent on technology. So who saved them? Who helped them?
I don't know. In the series, they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps with the assistance of the computers.
Right. With the assistance of.
But because of all the troubles, I believe that the computers ended up in charge.
Right. Which again...
Obviously, Cyberdyne Systems was involved.
It makes me wonder what the reconstruction of that shit looks like.
Now I'm wondering if I actually remember this right.
I'm just riffing on this because it sounds like such an interesting tale about the reconstruction after humanity has, quote unquote, saved themselves, or at least that's what they want to believe, and what all that would look like. Gotta be weird. It would be so bizarre.
Dr. Theopolis was a member of the Computer Council. The Computer Council is the governing body of the Earth Federation. So the computers were indeed in charge
of everything.
The council manages Earth's trade and diplomacy.
Oh my God. It's like if the UN actually had power.
Maybe if they had ethics.
Yeah, that too. And they were made of robots with no self-interest.
Maybe that was why they decided to put that, is to have the computers with no self-interest. Oh boy, they just don't understand programmers, do they?
No, they really don't. Well, line 723,000. If this condition, if this computer goes psycho. Destroy all humans. Destroy all humans. I can completely see that.
Exterminate.
Oh, man, are you going to really go the Dalek route? Come on. Come on. So hopeless. Wow.
The play in the hall is taking place.
The play.
Leo is playing with one of the twins. I think that is Pollux. They are down there. Houdini is in the room at the end of the hall. I've got him. Hello, Leo. You hear him running to me, trilling the entire way. He's got his little ball now. He's very excited.
Oh, he's
what are you doing?
Okay.
What are you doing? Give that ball. What are you doing?
I've often really wondered what that means when they come playing with a ball or something like that, or a stuffed animal in their mouths and whining like that. What the hell does that even mean? Does anybody know? That's a cute putty.
Him's purring. It's only going to be a matter of seconds before he goes for my face.
Yep, we have that on video. Yep, here we go. That was Shadow earlier. Runs ahead of me and then flops right down in front of me and rolls on his back. I know it's a trap. It is a total trap. Oh, that is so cute. And there's our bumper for this episode right there.
And he's got his ball and he's on his way. I told you he was going to bite my nose. Luckily, he has restrained himself. He doesn't bite the way he used to. It's only a nip now.
Now it's just I could really hurt you if I wanted to. Hey, Dad, how about a nose piercing?
How about a nose piercing?
Next week, Terry's got I just decided, fuck it. I just go ahead and get the jewelry since I got this hole here. He's got a cat claw hanging out like a like a
I don't even know where he went. Poof, he's gone.
It's a cat. They do that. They absolutely do that. Well, what else do you know, brother? Have you read anything interesting lately? Oh, my God.
The ball has been found.
The ball is more important than you, Dad. Trust me.
He's a kitten. He's only 6 months old. When he gets rolling, he gets rolling.
Oh, yeah. And then 20 minutes from now, he'll be dead asleep. Usually how it works. Did you read anything interesting? Did you hear anything about any rumblings in publishing? Because I had head down this week. I didn't really pay attention to much of anything. Uh-oh.
Let's see if you can hear this. He's got my sock. Go ahead. Okay. Zoom. He brought it to me to throw, so I had to throw it to him.
Hopeless.
I have not. I know that the trial for Randy Penguin is over, but it's going to be a while before we hear anything out of them.
Randy Penguin. God, I hope that gets nuked. I really hope that gets nuked.
If Randy Penguin gets to buy Simon & Schuster, they corner 49% of the market for traditional publishing. They are bigger than all of their major competitors combined.
So monopoly in publishing, monopoly in distribution. That's not good.
They will become the Taco Bell.
How long before Amazon buys Randy Penguin? Yeah, the U.S. government will just let that fucking happen. They probably will. That would be bad.
I did hear something that had nothing to do with publishing, but it did have to do with Amazon. Somebody was going on a rant about the new Lord of the Rings show that's coming on Amazon Prime. It comes out in a couple of days. I think the first two episodes drop September 2nd or maybe September 1st, something like that. So beginning of next week. And they spent on that IP and the production, they've spent $1 billion. Literally. That's not even a joke. They have spent $1 billion
God.
On the IP and production.
God.
And the detractors are going, yep, it's going to be canceled after the first season because it's going to... They haven't even seen the first episode. It sucks. Haven't even seen the first episode, and they're already proclaiming how terrible it's going to be.
Of course.
And the thing that I read said, well, I'm pretty sure Amazon's not going to say it's doing terribly. Not when they've got $1 billion invested in it.
Ooh.
I'll wager that it's going to... I think they've already planned for 5 years worth of seasons for it at a beginning. They spent $1 billion on it. They're not going to stop with season 1. They're already greenlit to go much further than that.
Well, fuck, why not? They've already built the sets and all the other bullshit, depending on
They've
how
already
things
spent.
take.
I think the IP cost them $500 million.
God damn.
I think that's how much licensing the IP cost them, was some ludicrous amount of money. So,
guys, there's plenty of IP out there that's not that. My God. I'd only charge you $250 million. Come on. Jesus Christ. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I think actually the streaming services are about to face a .com style crash. I think that's coming a lot sooner than people think it is, which is not good. But
Amazon's first season is costing $715 million.
Wow.
8 episodes.
8 episodes?
8 episodes.
For $715 million, 8 episodes.
That's what it says. They spent nearly $500 million on the show's production in New Zealand and tens of millions in marketing and promotion.
Oh my God.
So there is literally no way this is going to fail.
Wow.
No way. There's just not happening. Let's see. What was it?
That's scary, man.
They spent $250 million for the use of the IP, I believe is what I'm reading here.
Fuck.
Yeah. $250 million.
They still almost spent $500 million on production for 8 episodes.
Well, how much of that is things that they're going to be able to reuse in coming seasons?
Well, I know, like I said, that's probably the case, but still, how much is it going to take to produce another 4 years of this stuff?
I have no idea how many seasons they're going to do, but you can rest assured that it is not going to be a one and done season. Rest assured, no matter what, it is not going to fail in season 1. Amazon will never utter the words, "Well, that sucked."
Yeah, I've noticed that. That never happens. That never happens at all. They're not going to say that.
I mean, look what a giant floating dog turd it made for Wheel of Time, and it's still getting a second season.
Is it really?
It is.
Was it a popular show? I don't.
If you were not somebody that read the books.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said that. It's perfectly
fine.
Then
it's probably perfectly fine. But if you've read the books, you're like, what? No.
This is not how this works. This is not how any of this works. How many times have we heard that?
Plenty.
One of the YouTubers has a podcast and I listen to it, Distractable. It's pretty funny, but he was saying, Markiplier was saying that basically that people don't want reimaginings. You know, they want the nostalgia. They don't, if you're going to name it something like this and keep to it, they're going to want the original story, but modernized. They're not going to want a different story. They're not going to want differences in the characters. They freak out over that shit. They just do. And he was talking about rebooting game shows where there was some really popular kids game show on Nickelodeon and they tried to reboot it, I guess, some years ago. But they, instead of having 22-minute episodes, they went for 42-minute episodes. Instead of it being kids, they chose to do it with adults. And instead of putting it inside a tomb or a really spooky cavern, they did it outside in the forest and just kept the name, even though it was pretty much completely different than the original show. Guess what? It didn't last because that's not what people wanted. If you're going to put that out there, Gen Xers and the millennials are going to want it to be what it was. They're not going to want a reimagining like that with adults and completely change it. It's not going to work.
Just look at, they did Dune recently, the first half of Dune. They changed the gender of one character and there was outcry. I think that it was, not warranted, mind you, but even just that much of a change caused an outcry.
It's pathetic. It really is pathetic. I just have my own opinions about the remakes and reimaginings, all this other crap. But I mean, some of them are good, some of them are awful. Sometimes they make changes like you're talking about that just do not need to be made. They're just made to be made. But You know, it may just be that a woman showed up and was such a badass at the role or whatever they gave her and was like, we can't use you for this role, but we could rewrite this role for her
It
because
could be.
maybe she was that badass of an actor.
I think she did just fine in the role. Of course, I'm not one of the people that has read Dune. So I didn't freak out about it like everybody else because when it happened, I didn't even know about it.
I was watching a documentary and Romero was talking about the Night of the Living Dead. That main character was not supposed to be black. It was not written to be black. And the reason that guy got that part is he's the best actor that showed up. That's what Romero said. He was the best actor that showed up. And I thought that was quite interesting. So when you see some of these roles and they change like a gender or something like that, you just have to like, maybe that's just the actor or actress that made sense to them, or maybe it was just the best way to do that character, or they had the best grasp on that character. It doesn't have to be some kind of slight or SJW bullshit. It could just be that was the way it is. So, you know, people just need to calm the fuck down, especially shitting on something before it's out. Just calm the fuck down. Although I can shit on it because I don't like LOTR, so I'm sure it's going to be a clusterfuck. And instead of Amazon spending money on dead IP, they should buy Terry and I shit.
Totally true. They can spend the money on that IP and buy my shit.
And buy my
Paul's
shit. Buy all of it. Terry, would you let them completely reimagine your space opera?
Here's the thing that you've got to understand.
Oh no, here we go.
No, this is totally the way that it
actually is. I know exactly what you're going to say. Go on, take the money and run.
No, what am I going to, is that what I'm going to say?
Probably.
No,
go ahead.
That's not what I'm going to say.
What are you
going to say? What I'm going to say is, as a creator, you have to accept that when someone purchases a license to go ahead and make something out of your work, they're going to reimagine what you did. It's not going to be a recreation of what you've already done. It's going to be them taking the bones of what you've created and making something potentially different that just shares the name. And as a licensor, you just have to accept, okay, that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. Go on, take the money and run.
Was it James Patterson said that he went to the screening.
You told this one before.
I know I have told this one before. He went to the screening of the first movie, the Alex Cross movie. And Alex Cross's character is talking to some woman and he leans over to the actor and goes, "Who's that?" He goes, "That's his sister." And Patterson goes, "Okay." Because in the books, he had no sister. And he's just like, okay.
But they needed a character for him to do repartee with because in the books, that character talks in first person. Mm-hmm. So it needed more foils and more people for him to talk to in the movie rather than do it narration noir style.
But the reason that he did what he did is he just accepted, okay, this is a different property. Get your tail out of the way. It's a different property. And, you know, once it's in somebody else's hands, it's their baby. And you just have to sit back and go, God, I hope they don't fuck this up.
It's like I watched Constantine the other night and I was like, you know what? If I didn't know the graphic novels and that wasn't like one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, this would be an okay movie. But
you're talking the Keanu Reeves one?
Yes, it is an utter pile of shit because it should not be named Constantine. That was just an IP grab. They grabbed certain portions and left everything else out. Again, perfectly fine, entertaining, weird-ass movie. But because they named it Constantine and tried to rip that off, Bad Habits, that entire novella or graphic novel arc, which is fantastic, Dangerous Habits. You get a chance to read that. It's amazing. He fucks with the devil in a hardcore way. It's awesome. But I would not have a problem. But because I know the original IP, because I love that character so much, it's a slap in the fucking face to have Keanu Reeves playing that part and for them to have written him the way they did. So in order to enjoy the movie, I just have to go, this is not John Constantine. This is another John Constantine who lives in a completely different universe from that John Constantine. And let's just enjoy what it is for what it is and not try and compare the two because it's impossible. And I'm sure the TV show has the same fucking problem. because you can't capture that. I mean, you just that character was.
People thought the TV show was much closer to
Oh,
what.
probably is. It probably is. And to be honest, it's not difficult to get closer. But the original character, it's 1982. It's Thatcher's UK. The character is a diehard in the wool labor guy who's watched an entire community die and coal miners lose their jobs and everything else that's going on. The country's in an abysmal economic state and everybody's pissed off and things are bad, right? So it's got that entire dialogue through the first like graphic novel where you're getting to know this dude. And so that's constantly in there. So for purists, it's impossible. Nobody would understand that today. They don't get it. It's impossible to recapture 1982.
Sometimes when you watch IP, it gets a little convoluted. For example, my wife just watched the first season of Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
And she liked it. She thought it was great.
I haven't finished it yet.
And one of the things that I happened across, I just was doing some looking to see what Sandman was actually about. And I chanced across a little bit of fact that I did not know. Are you familiar with the Lucifer television show that they had on for a while?
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer in Sandman is the same Lucifer that is in Lucifer, the television show.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
It's actually DC canon. That's where Lucifer came from. They came from the same property.
Yeah,
and
I knew
they
that
are supposedly the same Lucifer.
Wow. Interesting.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Either. Sandman so far has pretty much stuck to canon in my mind. But I didn't read all that much of it when it was a thing, when it was going on.
My wife suspected something like that because Lucifer's assistant in Sandman is named Mazikeen, just like in the Lucifer television show.
Right. I thought that might be the same actress, but I wasn't sure.
I don't know. I haven't seen, so I don't know for sure. But Mazikeen is not actually a biblical name. So the fact that they used the same name was a glaring clue. These are the same Lucifers.
That's what I thought. I was like, that's odd. I did pick up on that, but I didn't process it. Interesting. I guess I shouldn't be surprised all that much. I know Gaiman got the chance, which I think is rarely done. Same thing with the guys who wrote The Expanse, to be involved in every portion of the production and guide the story, which is why when people complain, well, this didn't follow this. Well, you got the actual fucking creator, right there. You want to blame somebody, blame the guy who wrote the original IP who's now making the changes to it.
Sometimes there are reasons for that. The original IP just doesn't fit the new media.
Time changes, technology changes, tastes change. So if I want to bring back the core of something, I have to make it relevant to now in order for the mass consumers to digest it.
How would Doc Savage need to change to be relevant today?
Oh my God. Oh my God. That would be like saying, what could you do to make Conan the fucking Barbarian work today?
You realize that when they tried it with Jason Momoa, it failed horribly.
I shouldn't be shocked.
I saw that movie.
I didn't even know they made a movie. They must have pulled it that fast. I didn't even know.
I don't know about how fast they pulled it, but it was pretty bad.
It must not have been in theaters for more than a second.
Let's just say that even with Jason Momoa and bringing Conan into the future, you probably shouldn't treat women that way or talk about them that way. We'll just lay that on the table right now. Cook my breakfast, woman. No, I think not.
No, get your bitch ass back in the kitchen and make me some pie. Yeah, that's not going to go over very well. Cartman.
If you've ever read Howard's Conan stuff, it is pretty much focused on the men and fighting. Women really don't have a role in the story. And it's not a civilization that is kind to women.
It's not a civilization that's really kind to anybody that doesn't have power.
It's less kind to women than it is to men.
They're just things. They're things to fucking protect, and that's about it.
And they tried to actually portray that in the Jason Momoa movie, which of course meant that it was misogynist and sexist.
As fucking hell. Yeah, exactly. And that would be the time
to go ahead and change a few things.
Yeah, maybe. But I also, like I said before, I understand the friction between trying to preserve certain aspects of the lore, because actually making it not misogynist might really rub against the time rather wrong. In the original Conan movie, they made the women extremely strong and powerful people. They made them warriors.
Let's go ahead and talk about Red Sonja.
Haven't seen it.
I'm not talking about the movie, although there was a movie.
Read it.
That was a character that was contemporaneous with Conan in the same universe, if I remember correctly.
I think they fought together at some point or something.
She was a pirate captain that ruled the world that she ran. So her ship was her command. She was just as brutal, just as violent as Conan, but she was definitely a woman.
And she would have to be to survive in that world. To get to that position, she would have to be nastier than the men around her. That would actually, she'd scare me more than Conan the Barbarian, because Conan will just bludgeon you to death. She'll figure out a way to get you to slit your own throat. There's two different ways of doing that.
She was not conniving.
Oh, she wasn't.
She was just as physical as Conan. She was a female version of Conan that was perhaps a bit smarter.
It wouldn't be hard. Unbashed. Unbashed.
All the people that are fans of Howard's work are now busy shaking their fists.
Probably. Just our opinions. Doesn't mean you're wrong, but you are. If you try to capture the times, you have to kind of go with the baggage.
Look at what they did with Xena Warrior Princess.
Never watched it. Never watched Hercules. Never watched either of them.
They were very amusing for what they were. And Bruce Campbell was in it, so that was also fun.
Okay. Is there a point?
There is a point. They did not denigrate women while doing it, while still being in a barbarian world. They didn't feel the need to go ahead and treat anybody as lesser. And it worked for the show. The show was mildly campy, sure. But look when it was made.
It was supposed to be campy. Look at the network it was on.
It worked. It utterly worked for what they were doing.
Buffy, same way. There was a lot of camp in there, but guess what? It worked. Because of the camaraderie of the characters, the friction with the characters, and because of the world. And a lot of the times you rolled your eyes pretty goddamn hard about what they were doing, but you still ended up continuing because you wanted to see where the journey went. So, I mean, that's the mark of a good show, no matter how campy or stupid it can be, is at times is the fact that it made you want to keep watching. Where's my next fix of good? Where's my next fix of great? How many bad episodes do I have to go through to find the next great one? And the good American series, because American series have typically been so fucking long, you always have throwaway episodes. And you and I have talked about this before about throwaway filler books to get from one place to another in a series. It's like, I have to do this, but I hate it. There's the good series have very few throwaway episodes. And I think that's why the British television has rocked American TV, as far as I'm concerned, about in drama and suspense categories, because they're focused. We got 10 episodes to tell this entire story. That's it. No filler, no bullshit. We have to get right to it, and we have to go full bore. We can't fuck around. And I think that makes for a very different experience in how the characters live, in your head, how they appear. And it takes away that stupid shit that makes you hate characters and hate the story, because it continues the movement. I sometimes think that, just because you have more doesn't mean that it's any better. In fact, it could very much hurt the story. So I don't know. I just wonder sometimes if they really wanted to focus, like 8 episodes of Lord of the Rings. That sounds about right for cable TV. 10 is stretching it. I would say, well, really for any series that's in that big in scope, and we're not talking about a rom-com or something like that, like Coupling, where you could probably, churn out 12 episodes a year, no problem. 8 sounds good if you're talking about epic stuff going on and trying to do an arc and make a good focused arc. 8 sounds about right to me. Terry would take eight books to tell that arc.
No, they would go ahead and chop half of one of my books to make those 8 episodes.
You're not that wordy. You're not that wordy. You are not even close to being that wordy. At this point, I'm wordier than you are. Yes, I know. You keep picking up the kitty and forcing him to stare in the camera.
He's getting into stuff, trying to chew one of my notebooks.
That sounds like a cat.
He says I'm a kitten. I've got to chew everything.
So any moment now, folks, the nose bite is coming. It's coming. We can tell. I can see it on the look on his eyes. He's thinking about it.
The crazy is coming.
He's got that squint and eye twitch going on. You're in trouble, Bubba. Better stop torturing that putty. There he goes. It's a full bore freak out, ladies and gentlemen. What series would you like to see reimagined, or a series of books? Either one. For TV, movie, film.
I totally would like to see Perry Rhodan.
Perry Rhodan.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting. Why is that? Because of its Star Trek-like nature, or?
No, because the scope of the universe is huge, and the way that they did the exploration in the beginning of it meant that humanity came into this deal last, as far as had no idea. So everything is a learning moment for humanity, and it's a struggle. And I think that type of story would resonate well, but it's pulp fiction. I love pulp fiction, so that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, we know you love pulpy fiction. The pulpier, the better. You just throw the orange and let the stuff splatter everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Seeds and all.
What about you?
I don't know. I still think I'd love to see Peter F. Hamilton, one of his series, brought to life. I think basically the Mandrill series, I can't remember the name of the character, Gregory Mandel or something like that, series with the nano flower in it. I think that one would make a fantastic television show. It would probably be as expensive as shit to make, but I'm pretty sure those are the first books he had published, and they're really good, kind of noirish detective spy thriller kind of books, and they kind of take place after a political apocalypse, if that makes any sense. So there's a lot of strange shit going on in that book, in that series, but it is quite interesting, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. It'd probably make a good TV series or series of movies. Probably do pretty well. I'd like to see that done.
Okay. Send a note, somebody. Somebody get a producer on this.
Oh shit! If somebody gets a producer, I want to talk to them. I got I got 6 books I could sell them right now today.
You missed your opportunity. You could have pimped your own shit.
When
I asked you what you would want to see made.
Oh.
Did you say your own series? No.
No.
Too late now.
I thought beyond. I mean, obviously, I'd love to see one of my series. If I was going to do one of my series, probably the Black. Probably. I don't know how the fuck the Derelict Saga would work unless I don't have any idea how you do that in film. But the Black could make 6 movies easy. Wouldn't be hard.
Gosh. Any one of my series I think would be fun. Each is different in their own way. I don't know which one I would recommend.
Each one is targeted to a different network too.
Yeah. So whichever one is targeted for Fox is only good for 1 season.
Yeah, exactly. Get the money up front because these fuckers are just going to cancel it.
Them and the Sci-Fi Channel.
I did not know this, but evidently Nickelodeon back in the day, they only ever let a series go 3 years, no matter how popular it was. So they would film like 3 years worth of episodes in 1 year, and then they were done. And evidently that's how they kept rolling out these shows, was they were constantly in production and killing off the babies. So even if a show was really popular, they fucking ended it. Like,
That's one way to do it, I suppose.
huh? Anyway, Fox, yes, Fox has a way of yanking out the rug and then suffering killer's, remorse, bringing something back, making it worse, and killing it again, and maybe bringing it back once more.
Redoing it worked for Battlestar Galactica.
Well, you want to talk about a reimagination? Holy shit!
It went from campy to pretty dark in places.
Gritty, extremely gritty. And the fact that the Cylons were androids rather than, or basically human androids, cyborgs, rather than the tin cans that were in the original series, made a humongous difference. And of course, that was part of the play, right? You never knew who was really a Cylon. Turned out everybody was a Cylon. My God, what the fuck did happen to this series? Jesus. It definitely changed everything about the series by doing that, because it upped the stakes to unimaginable levels. Because it's pretty easy to figure out that there's a tin can in the room listening to what you're saying versus somebody who looks, feels, talks, and thinks supposedly like you. And
they may not even know they're a Cylon.
And maybe not even know that they're distilling the information. The best spy is one who doesn't know they're a spy. Very simple.
Poor Boomer.
So, yeah, poor all of them. My God. Anyway, that's why that series worked the way it did, was because they made that change. I don't think it would have survived a season if they were just been fighting robots.
The problem with their success is that other people thought they could then do the same thing without understanding why it was a success. Let's go ahead and talk about Stargate creating Stargate Universe, going all grim and gritty and lasting 3 seasons out of the 5 they planned, because the fan base just rejected them.
Because they wanted camp.
They wanted something uplifting. Not necessarily camp, because if you ever watched Stargate Atlantis, it was not all camp. They had things going on, but it wasn't grim, gritty, I loathe every character I see on the screen.
Ugh.
Stargate Universe was awful.
Isn't that J.R. Handley's favorite show?
It is, and that explains everything. I'd say that JR only has all of his taste is in his mouth, but I've seen him eat, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any there either.
Ow.
I love JR.
Damn.
He's just an easy target.
Damn, the schmack is flying everywhere today. Holy shit.
He was in the Army. I was in the Army. He's fair game.
Yeah, we actually got a YouTube comment about how mean you were to him.
I know, right?
It was probably his alternate account.
It was his sock puppet. That's what I was about to say.
Sock puppet. It's really bad when you get into an argument with your sock puppets and lose. There, take that. Holy shit. Oh my God. I was thinking about this the other day, writing, there are certain time periods you write in that are going to have landmines.
Yeah. Something that I saw SM Sterling talking about on Facebook is people living in the past, they really did live in a different world.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking specifically in that about men and women. Like he was talking about transgenderism and how gender identity is more fluid these days than it was back then. Even though you had women pretending to be men, it was easier in the past because they didn't look at the person, they looked at the framework, the clothing, the
The
things they were doing,
mannerisms.
the mannerisms. And it was easier for a woman to pretend to be a man if they had all of the accoutrements of a man. They looked at what they were doing, and that was it. There was a woman that was a sailor for any number of years and was injured in a battle, and the surgeon found out when he cut her pants off. And that's the first anyone knew about it.
Whoops.
There was a Russian cavalry officer that was a woman, and it came out later in her career, and the Tsar made a special exception for her because she was an exemplary cavalry officer.
Executive dispensation. Got it.
But it just goes to prove they saw a cavalry officer and they did not think, I wonder if that's a man. No, they assumed it was a man. They knew it was a man because of the role that person was doing. Whereas these days, it's not quite the same. He was specifically talking about one of the things is, I can't remember who it was, a friend of his, a relative of his, somebody, maybe it was a reporter, was going to Africa to do some type of exploration in the great back beyond. And the tribesman said, are you a man or a woman? Even though she's obviously a woman, did not take any kind of guessing to look at it. He was unsure because the way she was dressing confused him. And once she said she was a woman, she got sent out back with some matrons to make sure she really was a woman. He wasn't sure. He could not tell. His world, the clothing and the format of everything, when he found somebody that was more ambiguous, he was unsure. He could not say, even though it was a woman.
Well, this would be especially true in a tribe where they don't wear tops.
I don't know anything about that.
Just thinking out loud here.
But I didn't want to sidetrack. I didn't want to sidetrack your thing there, but his comment was people in different times are alien to us, and we cannot understand how they think because they are different.
You would not want to go back to 1880 in the West. You wouldn't want to do it. It actually, after you've been socialized in this century, or even last century, into last century, you would not know what the fuck was going on. It would be bad. It would smell bad. It would be hard. You're at no air conditioning. No. This is not a good time to live, guys. This is not someplace you want to go back to. It may be good. It may be fun to read about it and everything else, but I think the vast majority of people who've been socialized in this day and age in the last 75 years would be hard pressed to survive in that environment. Majority of people. There are some that would be fine, obviously. There are some that would thrive, but I don't think the majority of humanity wants to go back to that place. But yeah, you got to bring all those baggage with it, right? A woman wasn't allowed to own property. Women weren't allowed to vote. You had a caste system as far as Chinese, Black, Hispanic, depending on where it was. There's all this stuff that just does not get mentioned or people gloss over that were pretty fucking awful. The factories people had to work at, the jobs, the pollution, the child labor. There's all these things people kind of conveniently forget when trying to romance about the past. It's like, yeah, I'm sure it was a great life if you were at the top. But if not, I don't think it was what you think it is or was for the average person. So yeah, maybe do a little more research before you romanticize something. And I think that's one reason it really, or something gets really stuck in the craw of people. If they've romanticized something to the extent where it's a different reality than it was, then they bristle when people bring up these odds and ends. They'd rather just focus on what was cool about the period for a certain number of people rather than the way life was for everybody in that area or in that locale. And what the quality of life actually was, rather than what it's romanticized to be. There, my 2 cents. Reality denial is a wonderful thing. What are you doing? What are you looking
Paste.
for?
I'm pasting something for you.
No. Oh, it's in the private chat. You know I don't look at the private chat. Okay, I'll read this. Writerly historical note. It was much easier for a woman to pass herself off as a man when there were major strictly enforced differences in dress and haircuts between the sexes. We're much better at picking up an actual physical clues because men and women usually dress fairly alike. Our ancestors in, say, 1890 often just looked at the silhouette and literally didn't notice the other stuff much of the time. Interesting. Really interesting. It's a good point, though. It's a very good point.
There we go. I've pasted the entirety of his post in there. Took a couple of little snippets to get it all in.
Good God. There's a photo in the book of her in her traveling gear, and to a modern Western eye, there's absolutely no doubt she's female. It's immediately obvious. But they literally weren't seeing that. The past is another country. They do things differently there. Yeah. So even for your worlds that you have, they have a past. I've hinted at and sort of said outright, but not quite, talked about or alluded to the fact that humanity is in pretty bad shape during the Derelict saga. That things are not great all over the solar system. They're not living some utopic life. It's fucked up. And they're in the process of rebuilding. They will be in the process of rebuilding for a long, long time. It's a different, but they have a past. They have a different past. They have a past that brought them to this point. They have a past before that heralded all this. There's a lot of different little valleys and troughs there. And that, I think that also can make a series very interesting, which is why you end up with some of these prequels. Because somebody has written a present that is so dependent on the past, and sometimes the past is more interesting than what the current characters are doing, at least to the writer, ultimately. How did we get here is always a great question to ask. You're just letting me talk a lot today because you're too busy fucking with kittens.
It tried to chew my hand again, so it gets the tail.
It gets the tail?
Yeah. I'm feeding it its own tail.
Oh, yes, you are. Yes, you are.
That distracts it. He's like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. This tail, I don't know.
He can't decide if he's bathing or biting.
Exactly. It's moving. I was going to get it. Wait, no, this is my tail. It's much different than when I feed him his back foot.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, you're really missing something or nothing. And there we go again. Now you miss something.
Smack.
Telling you, you're going to end up with a nose piercing.
I'm going to end up with a scar across my forehead. I'm going to be like Nick Fury, have to wear an eye patch with scars going down through my eye because of all the messing with this kitten.
I've got a question. In the Empire of Bones prequel, the something Marines, what's it called?
Imperial Marines.
Imperial Marines, thank you. That is a much darker series than the Empire of Bones. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Their current is not a darker place. Their current timeline is not a darker place. They haven't gone through all the horrors that are forthcoming for that series. And while one of the characters comes from a darker place and a darker history, it's only her personal history and that other place that's dark.
Okay, so the rug hasn't been pulled out yet.
The rug has not been pulled out yet.
Are you going to go up to the point where the rug gets pulled out?
That's my plan. Not only will the rug be pulled out, but I'll be documenting the fall.
Yeah, that sounds like that's the interesting part of the series to me, is when the world starts to fall apart. When you start to see the girders falling off the buildings, when the entire structure of the pyramid that you know, which is your world, pieces start falling out of the bottom of it. And it's not good because it ultimately will take the entire structure down.
Imagine the stories that can be told about the people that are fighting to hold it back just another day so that other people can escape and live just another day. Those are some dark stories.
Yeah, Peter F. Hamilton's Salvation series, I think it was by book 3, maybe in book 2, I don't remember, is when stuff started hitting the fan. And you got to see all the immediate plans for, we got to get the fuck out of here, and everything that had to happen and everything everybody did, and all this fighting and was going on trying to get people out. It was not trying to win, it was trying to get away. So it was like this mass evacuation of humanity to the best of their abilities to get them out. And that's what made that book so crazy, was because while they're doing this, they're unraveling all these plots, all these safe places they thought could go are not safe. They're actually, and always were, enemy strongholds. So I mean, it's just this completely fucked up disaster area, and that book just flies. And so is the third one.
You know what book I'd like you to read? Safehold by David Weber. The opening sequence of that book is the extermination of humanity.
Oh yeah, you've talked about that one.
It's an exceptionally decent series. I love it. And it's certainly interesting seeing a primitive, changed world from the eyes of somebody who's technologically present. Somebody who comes from a high-tech society and is thrust into a world where technology is forbidden.
It's essentially a Brave New World to a large
And
extent.
of course, the church is, more than willing to go ahead and exterminate you for violating those edicts.
Oh, of course.
So how is your single technologically savvy person supposed to change the world?
Help.
Through proxies, of course.
Some help, yeah, through proxies. The only word you can.
That's the stories that series has, is him finding those proxies and then their fight. Because that's the last of humanity. And the technologically sound person knows the aliens that exterminated humanity will eventually find them again.
Mm-hmm.
And if something is not done to get them back on a technological track and get them better than they were before all of this happened,
this time nothing
end.
will survive. Yeah.
Nothing will survive.
I'll come back and finish the job.
The stakes could not possibly be higher.
I rewatched Altered Carbon. God, I can't talk.
Season 1 or 2?
Both, actually.
Okay.
I liked the second season better on the rewatch.
Okay.
Which I found interesting. It was because I was in a different place. But he talks about the fact that in the first season, and actually I think even season 2, he talks about this. About the fact that one of Kelchris Falconer's instruction was meld in with the locals, build relationships so that when it comes time, you can use these people however you need to accomplish your mission. And so the character has that moment where he has to decide, are these people cannon fodder? And that's very compelling to watch a character struggle with that. Is this worth what I need to do to survive? Is putting all these people in danger or having to kill them? Having to put them in a path of certain death, am I willing to make that trade for what I think needs to be accomplished? And that is if you've got a good character who set things up, that is a very tearing moment, especially when somebody who considers themselves above such emotions has to deal with them. So I thought that was a good struggle for the character to have.
One of the things that I thought was interesting about the Safehold series just occurred to me. You were talking about the other things and it brought it to mind. When the people that arrived there, the survivors that became the initial population there, they had their memories wiped. The bad people that decided they were going to remake humanity into a different mold wiped everyone's memories when they brought them out of the sleep that they were in. So their bodies were high tech. They had all of the implants and medical nanos and things that a very high tech civilization would have. So those people, those initial colonists, lived for hundreds of years, but their progeny did not. And so they had to come up with a mythology to explain all of these things. Because the people that were running it did not erase their own memories.
Of course not.
So they had to come up with a mythology to explain all of that. And there's even a secret society that's operating in this world because the mind wipe on one person, one of the colonists, did not take. And so even though this person pretended that they didn't know anything, they were watching everything, taking notes, and making a secret society that exists to the day of the story being written in there that the character, of course, has no idea exists. It's a very complicated and convoluted world. And I would honestly say that I like that series better than Honor Harrington. It is just so well done. And if you want to see fighting and people get their shit blown up, there's lots of that too.
I prefer close quarters combat with things that don't react well to bullets or just shrug them off.
And so a saber cutting all the way through you is a bad thing? A cannon blowing your head off?
A cannon? Wow, these people were really gone back to Stone Age.
That's pretty much the technological level that they are allowed to have.
That's frightening. Well,
horse combat, horse cavalry, naval stuff. That's it. Wind-powered navy, I might add. Steam power will draw an orbital strike.
Well, that seems a little overboard.
That's the way the thing is set up. The people that built this, if a certain level of technology is crossed, the things that were meant to protect the planet from invaders finding them will be turned upon them, and they will be blown to little bitty smithereens.
Nice.
So they know there are limits that they cannot cross.
And I'm sure humanity's completely, allied themselves with one another to fight this threat, right?
Good luck with that.
Yeah. I was grinning when I said it. I couldn't say it with a straight face.
If that type of story sounds like it's a mixture of science fiction and old style military action.
A high seas adventure kind of tale?
There is quite a bit of high seas adventure going on with that dash of high tech that has to be hidden so that none of it is detectable. And just imagine having to reveal yourself to someone as a high technologist when that is like literally the devil.
Yeah, it'd be like aliens revealing themselves, knowing that they will be annihilated the moment that they reveal themselves, but being so desperate that they have to. The situation says, okay, we haven't made first contact, but we've been influencing things, but now it's nut cutting time. And if we want to save this civilization of this planet, we have to uncloak ourselves and get things in gear because the humans are too fucking stupid to figure out something bad is happening.
The only thing that I think probably went a little too far is the high technology character gave himself the name Merlin.
Oh boy.
Maybe that was a step too far.
Somebody asked me last night, we were talking and I actually mentioned the fact that I had considered putting a jumping the shark scene in Oceania, but talked myself out of it. They were like, yeah, that was probably the right call. God damn it, I really thought about it.
Now, the thing that I find interesting about the series is this high technology character. It is not really a human being. It is the intelligence of a human being placed into a robotic body. One that's only designed to hold a human being. It was brought along when they fled Earth. It was meant for use for 10 days only, for like going on adventure vacations. Want to go visit a volcano? Download your intelligence into this device and go visit the volcano.
Oh, no.
They'll recover whatever's left and
Oh, no.
re-upload your memories back to you.
Oh, no.
And the person that is the one who's chosen to do this is a woman. The body that they give her is a man. It doesn't get explored nearly as much as I think it should have.
Unless maybe that character has done that before.
I don't know. It's been a while since I read the first book, but I thought it could have gotten a little bit more screen time. But it really is a complex series with a lot of shit going on. And I think you would actually like it.
Well, I'll add it to my TBR, which continues to grow at a astonishingly terrifying rate.
So say we all.
Yeah, easy for me to say, right? Well, we should probably wind this down. Do you have any advice, or have you come up with any fantastic sayings over the past week? Some kind of dire thing that humanity needs to know about?
Get your ass in the chair and write.
I got my ass in the chair and wrote. Thank you very much. At some point, I'll take a vacation.
What? Wait a minute. That's November.
Yeah, when I go to Cancun.
What, you don't think going to Vegas is going to be a vacation?
No, what I'll be doing, according to you, I'm going to be rubbing elbows with people and talking business and being stupid. I don't have money to gamble, so, that's about it. That's not going to be a vacation. That's working.
You can always gamble your weed money.
I don't have any weed money.
Well, damn it. What are you going to do in Vegas with no weed money?
I'll sit in the corner and be sad. That's how it's going to work.
Oh, man.
I'll get a contact high from all the cool kids outside smoking the bongs. That's how it'll work.
We should start a GoFundMe. GoFund Paul's Vegas High.
Oh, my God.
You hear that, listeners? Go ahead and take care of that. Get something set up for Paul's High.
If you have comments or questions about this episode, you can find it. You can send an email to the show at debrobotssociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find me at Mastodon at Paul E. Cooley at mastodon.social. You can find us on Facebook at the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where Terry manages things. You can find us on youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs and way too damn many cats. We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 14 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. And if you'd like to support the show, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content like live shows and mostly unexplicated episodes and other mischief and mayhem. Whew. That was a long thing to say. And at the $10 level, you get your name read. And our $10 patrons are Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible. Oh, wow, that was a lot of shit to say. But I have some more to say.
Oh, no, more words.
We have more words. Terry and I, this is part of our 12-step program we will never complete, are caffeine junkies, and we get supplied with our caffeine from corpsecoffee.com. Visit corpsecoffee.com, check out their array of coffees, their wonderful boutique teas, their strange and weird webcomic, and tell them DRS sent you. Visit corpsecoffee.com and get the dead in your cup. It's like I'm a spokesperson or something. That's the only advertising I've really ever done, and I think I do it pretty well. I'm just kidding myself. Anyway, with that, Terry and I are going to get out of here, even while he's looking up whatever he's looking up to basically shatter my sense of reality, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to get out of here. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.